WCN and friends of WCN who are interested and invested in our journey. Our church is nearly at the end of our long process of relocation, getting into our new building. Last week, we were cleared to set a schedule. And so this past Sunday, we announced a schedule for moving in on January the 7th, and we celebrated that. We set the schedule out in the newsletter that is on its way to your homes now. And on Tuesday of this past week, we were informed that the contractor will not meet the schedule that they cleared us for the previous week. And they told us they're gonna need just a few more weeks. So it's gonna be deeper into January. I'm not sure exactly, not gonna set a date, but it won't be January the 7th. Obviously, this is not the message that I want to have to send out right now. We would not have announced a schedule for opening the building had we not been cleared to do so last week. The good news and the bright side is that we're just talking about just a few more weeks before we get in. If you're familiar with WCN's journey, you're probably nodding your head about right now because this has been our story, a series of challenges from a blue-collar church years ago, saving up to do something, to a pandemic that drove up costs for construction, to a pause, to looking at some other possible options that became closed doors, to a massive flood that destroyed our facilities, to fighting with FEMA and SBA, to inflation that created a gap that we've had to deal with financially. So what we're dealing with in this challenge is not anything new. The good news is that God sees God's people through. God sees God's people through the chaos and the exile and the wilderness, and God sees God's people through the sea. God sees God's people through floods and disasters and catastrophes and challenges and the kind of stuff we've been dealing with. The God who has seen us through everything until this point is continuing to see us through. So what's called for is a couple of weeks, just a few weeks of a little bit more patience. And church, we're going to get there. God's going to see us through.